Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton. This is the free-for-all. Melissa Longo is here wearing an old-school purple Seventh Rule shirt that I love. Eve England is also wearing a shirt made by Melissa. You can get yours at theintrovertedrepublic.com. Carrie Schwent here is all set for the month of June, looking good in that cool Star Trek Pride shirt. Wow, everybody's got cool shirts today. Allison's got her Garrick's Clothiers shirt today. Jason Oken is dressed smartly, as always, with a radical poster behind him. Golda Scott Jensen has the New Jersey Devils and an awesome family shirt. Is that the Ferengi? No, it's the Sisko family. Beautiful. And Mai is live in Tokyo. The sun's probably not even come up yet. She's got her Chat Pack shirt on. First things first, Cirroc Lofton. Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Oh, Deep Space Nine, Q less. We'll say probably like 7.3.
Does anybody else have a guess that didn't already check or doesn't already know?
Probably mid sixes, mid to high sixes. 6, 7.
Interesting. I like how Eve actually checked her notes to decide. That was cool. It is a 6.7 on IMDb, everybody. The people at IMDb, people that voted, gave it a 6.7. Oh, did you get the non-appearance mention today?
Card.
Yeah.
Card. He was all over it.
Yeah, he got mentioned quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Picard's lackeys, but I don't know if we can count. We're like, which ones are the lackeys? All right. Well, Melissa Longo has some clips prepared for us. From the last time we reviewed this episode, we recorded it on June 13th, 2019, with Mr. Aron Eisenberg. Also, writer Mark Zickrey joined us, but these are clips from after that. And it originally aired on June 16th, 2019. So here is the first one from Mr. Aron Eisenberg. And thank you, Melissa, for doing the legwork on this for us. Let's see if this works.
I was just wondering why they didn't transport them, beam them out of the runabout at the very beginning. I was thinking to myself, why are they spending so much time trying to open up the door? And it's like they were on an elevator trying to open up elevator doors that go out to space. Obviously, it goes into the runabout. And I was thinking to myself, in the episode before they beamed out the guy whose ship, was stuck on the pylon. Remember and this time they didn't. And I don't like when they do things like that.
It don't make sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's like set a rule, then follow that rule. If you can do that, then don't make a conflict where the question's going to be just beam them out. And
good point, Aron. What inspired this one from you, Melissa?
Well, I completely agreed with him. I mean, why set a conflict that can be solved by just beaming somebody out? And it's a non-conflict, really, then, because you have the ability to beam them out. Easy fix. Less dramatic, but
yeah. Why didn't they beam them out? Did they say? They didn't say, did they? I'm pissed too now.
Okay,
all right.
They beamed the box out into the middle of space, so Yeah.
Did they ever show the third person on that ship? I saw Dax and I saw Bosch.
He was a background dude in the same color as Dax.
Yeah.
Starfleet.
Starfleet.
Yeah,
Yeah, they went a little Orchiola did the back of his head sort of thing.
Yeah, and
Good
he
knowledge.
was passed out.
Carrie,
did they explain how Ganges was picked up Bosch? Like how Dex ended up?
Well, she did say that in the beginning, that they found her in the Gamma Quadrant, and so that's when they picked her up.
Carrie, I just realized how much stuff is in your background. Wow.
Yeah, it was inspired by Odo. His little rant about accumulating stuff. And I happened to be looking up at one of my shelves at the time. I'm like, yep, I know what my background is. So I walked around the house taking pictures of everything.
Beautiful.
And this isn't even all of it either. Poor Eric, he's going to have so much stuff to go through if I go before he does.
All right. So up next is another clip from Mr. Aron Eisenberg, our favorite human. And it goes a little something like this.
I felt that the best thing they could have done is use Q to put Sisko in a moral and philosophical dilemma on why he thinks the station is being pulled into the wormhole, and he has to figure out, is it this group of people, is it this, is he using, what's influencing him to figure out who it was, if you're going to bring Q in to be the catalyst for Sisko.
Malissa, your thoughts?
Well, and again, I'm in agreement with Aron in that they misutilized Q in this episode, I think, and he didn't really seem to have a purpose. I like that Aron wanted them to use Q to, maybe explore a moral and philosophical dilemma. And instead of, trying to, I get that maybe they were trying to show how Sisko and how Deep Space Nine differs from the Enterprise, but we didn't really need Q for that. So.
Yeah, we're kind of talking about that a little bit. What do you guys think? Better with or without Q?
Well, Q wasn't there. Q was there just because of Bosch. He was having abandonment issues. They'd been hanging out for 2 years, and he wasn't ready to stop hanging out so soon. So he was more focused on her. That he just happened to catch up to her at the station. That incidental.
Yeah, he didn't move the story.
He just wanted to keep
along.
hanging out with Bosch.
He wasn't part of the problem or part of the solution. He was just there.
I was just cracking up at
something that we talked about.
Sorry, Cirroc, what were you saying?
No, that's something that we were talking about earlier, just about that particular subject. And I think Aron is completely right about that, about not using Sisko properly in the storyline. I think that I would have liked to see Sisko assisting Vosh in getting away from Q. I think that would have been a better story for me. I think that we were talking about this being like an abusive relationship and her needing some help. And Sisko would have been the perfect guy to stand up to Q and say, not on my watch, not on my station, and I'm not going to let that go down. And he could have separated them or got him off of her back. And I thought that could have been a better use of Sisko and Q. And make it less about this orb and all of this stuff, this crystal or whatever. Make it less about that and more about Sisko standing up to Q on a point of righteousness, that he's always standing on principle. So that kind of would have revealed his character better.
Yeah.
The way they revealed Picard when they first used Q, and Picard was explaining the Federation doesn't do it like this, and I refuse to, cross certain lines, and we have, a morality to our agenda, explaining to Q that this is what Starfleet's about, this is what I'm about, and they could have used that to explain what Sisko's about really early.
It's the way I see this, it's almost like a next gen episode written with DS9 characters in it, and that's probably why it doesn't work. And frankly, they even go and list things why it doesn't work and shouldn't, why it differentiates from next gen, and that's the reason it doesn't work. I mean, it's not that DS9 is a serious show. It's about Cirroc, as you said, it's about people, it's about character, it's about something. It's not about sort of these puerile jokes. Doesn't mean that it's not funny. DS9 can be funny. I mean, look at Looking for Parmark in All the Wrong Places, Little Green Man. They can be humor, but it's a different type of humor. It's not ha 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 puerile jokes kind of humor. So Q doesn't really work in that context. And they list these things. That's the funny thing. They say, well, I'm not this. I'm not getting this repartee. This is I'm not Picard, and that's why it doesn't work. And they actually say why it doesn't, which makes it quite a bit interesting. It's just
very meta,
and even ends with an object becoming a space creature, just like in Farpoint. I mean,
right?
Yes, they got their own jellyfish.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah. But it was more of a manta ray kind of thing.
Yeah, like a manta ray or devil ray.
And so you're right, Cirroc. It's the whole thing is about this thing. It's about plot. It's not about character, and that's what makes this so different.
All right. So that actually brings us to the next point by Aron Eisenberg perfectly when we're talking about character and what Deep Space Nine is known for.
I miss what I don't like in the last couple episodes, and we got 30 seconds, is we haven't revisited the family. We haven't seen Jake in the last 2 episodes. So we haven't seen Sisko with his family. And I'm missing that. And that to me is bothering me, just for the record.
Just for the record.
For the record.
What do you think, Malissa?
Again, I totally agree. The thing that sets Deep Space Nine apart from many shows, not just Star Trek, but shows across the board, is the family connection that it has. And it's kind of lacking in this episode. You could make an argument that Vosh and Q are kind of family in a way, but it just doesn't work in the setting of Deep Space Nine, because we're here to watch Deep Space Nine and invest in the characters of Deep Space Nine and the familial relationships going on Deep Space Nine. So to bring something out, something from a different show, that from a different kind of family, feels kind of like a crutch and a letdown.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. For someone who hasn't watched TNG as well, you just don't care about the characters who you're spending most of the time with. So, I didn't know who Vash is, so I don't, really care much about her character. She seems quite interesting in of herself, but you don't have any of that context of what her relationship was with Picard or with Q, or however that all comes together. I mean, I did find her relationship with Quark more interesing, and I did think that was the one thing I did like, is that we did learn a lot about Quark from her interactions with him, so I did enjoy that. But apart from that, it kind of, it felt a bit hollow, because they just seemed to be trying to pay or lip service basically to the old show, and it just didn't really work. I just didn't get that the story was an interesting enough story and the characters weren't interesting enough in themselves, and it would have been nicer for them to just focus on the core characters rather than on these two effectively randoms in the whole show.
Good point. Everybody at home, just know that Eve doesn't like The Next Generation. That's why she's saying this. Otherwise, she'd be like, yeah, Vosh and Q are back. Woo, finally. Anyway, well, let's...
Scott's like,
I'm with Eve.
Let's take a quick break, everybody, and then we're going to talk about anything that we noticed this time that we hadn't noticed the many other times we've seen this episode. So everybody stick around, get your game face on. We'll be right back on the 7th rule.